Τάμπλετ σου την εφαρμογή του LGR London Greek Radio 103,3. Μας φέρνει πιο κοντά.
This is LGR London Greek Radio.
Hello and welcome to All About Autism, our monthly charity show here on London Greek Radio, aimed at helping us all understand autism better so that we can together create a better society for autistics and the whole autism community. My name is Dr. Chris Papadopoulos. I'll be your host for the next hour. I'm a father of 3 children, 2 of whom are autistic. I'm also the founder and lead of the London Autism Group charity, and I'm an academic at the University of Bedfordshire. Today I'm joined by the one and only, the ultra amazing, absolutely biggest star in the whole wide world,
thank you.
Our co-host and charity volunteer, Ellie Kolatsi.
How can I beat that? That's great, thank you.
Well,
hello, Chris.
You did pick me up and bring me here, so least I can do is give you a nice warm intro. So,
you okay?
Yeah, good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, summer's over now. Back at school, routine. Thank goodness. All good.
Get back into routine. Yeah. Great. Oh, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So, as listeners may know, on each monthly episode we focus on a different topic connected to autism, and for today's show we'll be talking about a very, very important topic. That is how we can support autistic mental health. And one of the reasons we're discussing this topic is because on Saturday the 14th of September at 3 p.m. to 7 p.m, the charity will be hosting our first ever in-person speaking event, where there's going to be 3 autistic mental health professionals and experts talking about how they support their autistic clients' mental health. This event is going to be at the Holy Sepulchre Church in the City of London by Holborn Viaduct, and tickets are available to purchase at tinyurl.com/LAGC speaking event. That's tinyurl.com/LAGC speaking event. Or you can go on our charity public Facebook page and you're going to see information there very clearly, including the booking link. Tickets are nearly sold out, so if you're interested, do have a look at it. It's going to be really, really good, and you'll learn lots more about autistic mental health. And again, that's on Saturday the 14th of September at 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It'll be a really good event. So, as always, if you'd like to ask us anything live on air or share anything that we might be able to read out and discuss on today's topic, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. As always now, we are having our show live streamed, so you can go to facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity. That's facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity, and click on the live stream that's going on there, and you'll be able to see Ellie and I right now. And once you're there, you can pop in a question or a comment. We'll keep an eye on the feed. So that'll be the best way to interact with us on the show. So if you would like to comment or ask anything, please do. We really, really do encourage that. We'd also like to point our listeners to the London Autism Group Charity's YouTube channel, which now has all of the past All About Autism episodes uploaded there in case you ever miss a show and want to catch up. And that's a really good resource, isn't it, Ellie? Because we talk about so many good topics.
So many.
And
you can catch up there.
Yeah, we sometimes have guest speakers. So if you feel like you have missed an episode and you want to go and learn more about the many different topics that we've discussed.
Or even dipping in and out. You
dipping
can
in and out,
stop it, pause
all
it, make
there.
notes,
Yeah. So the recordings are on our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube, search for the charity, that's London Autism Group Charity, and you'll find it. Probably best to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes that we upload there. Also, I want to draw your attention to the fact that Ellie here, Sophia Christophi, who unfortunately is not here today but will be joining us next month, and I, all 3 of us, co-hosts of the show, are going to be joining the wonderful Elizabeth Chapman and Tony J on Chai Ganela J Guvenda on the 23rd of September at 8 p.m. So make sure you listen out for that one, because that will be fun. Yeah. You looking forward to that, Ellie?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so today's topic is mental health, autistic mental health. So let's get into it, shall we? So Ellie, what can you just perhaps explain what the difference between autism and mental health is, and Are they the same thing? Are they different? You know, give us the basics, and let's go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. So one thing to highlight, and is important, is autism isn't a mental health problem. Okay, so you could be neurotypical and have a mental health problem. You could be autistic and have a mental health problem. But if you're autistic, you may be likely to experience mental health issues, okay? Or you can experience conditions such as ADHD, which is attention hyperactivity disorder. Is that what it's still called, Chris?
Or ADHD? Yes.
Unfortunately, the disorder.
Yeah.
That's why I stumbled over that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually, isn't it? Because there is a bit of debate as to the terminology of ADHD, because it's attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, which is a bit of a questionable way of putting it.
So back to the thing. So if you are likely to be autistic and experience mental health problems, you can have one of these things, be dyslexic or learning disabilities, but research suggests that many autistic people also have mental health problems like depression or anxiety, and there are many possible reasons for this, including negative attitudes from people. So that's one of the things that we're here for, to kind of dismiss all those myths and debunk all the kind of things associated with neurodiversity, neurodivergence. So you can experience stigma, discrimination, trauma, and loneliness, isolation, really, which contributes to mental health problems.
It's probably worth saying that loneliness per se is not a mental health problem per se, but as you correctly said, if you're experiencing a lot of loneliness, then you're at risk of poor mental health. It's also worth saying that loneliness is different to aloneness, because a lot of people always say to me, oh, but I like being alone, you know, and different. Autistics like being alone, and that's true. Many of us like being alone. Everybody likes that, and that can be good for your mental health. But loneliness is when you're alone, but you don't want to be alone. That's really bad. And then you've also got two different types of loneliness. You've got social loneliness and emotional loneliness. And so
that could
really
be
bad.
That's really something. Thanks for highlighting that. That's good. So differences in interacting in the world. So you might have to navigate places that don't meet your sensory processing or communication needs. So, for example, going on transport, you might find stressful or difficulty making phone calls and doing forms, which absolutely flusters me. I don't know about you, but making telephone calls to doctors is absolutely the worst thing ever when you're sick and you've got that extra layer of being 20th in the queue, and then you get cut off, and then you have to start all over again.
Like stressful, those kind of daily
those daily struggles, and also misdiagnosis. I think this is an important one to add. So some experiences of autism overlap with symptoms of mental health problems. So this can mean that experiences of autism are mistaken for mental health problems. So misdiagnosis can make it harder to get the right kind of help.
Misdiagnosis. Big time.
So this is all, it could contribute to stress, anxiety, depression, and again, barriers to support. So it can be difficult getting the right support. Where do you go for support? So it can take a long time, as we know, to get an autism diagnosis, from assessment to actually being diagnosed, especially if you're an adult. And mental health social services, everything's under-resourced nowadays. So where do you go?
That's true.
But, just going back to the diagnosis, trust your gut feeling. They always say that. Always trust your gut. And if you know that there's something not right, reach out for help. There is always someone that can help. So be persistent, persevere, ask someone to make the telephone call to the doctors if it's stressing you out. Ask them to come with you to the doctors. Ask for help if you need forms filling out. Those kind of things are your first step to getting diagnosed and getting the right support. And if you don't get the answer or the outcome that you were expecting from the professional, question it, challenge it, go back. you know, and I think that's always key to have someone with you, because sometimes when I'm sitting in the room, I don't know about you, but I get flustered. So asking those key questions is really important. Persevere. And if you have those signs, or you know that there's something not quite right, trust it.
your gut.
Trust it.
Yeah. It's hard though, isn't it, when you're down in the dumps, you've got bad mental health, and you feel like, you know, you can't really sort of function anymore. It's so hard to even though you know these things, it's quite hard to. But you're right. I mean, those ultimately are going to help you. Those actions. You know, get support would be the other thing I would say. I mean, I think you said that anyway. But you know, get support. You know, and you know, sort of don't feel ashamed for getting support. I'd say. Just going back to the diagnosis thing, you were saying very interestingly that part of the problem, part of the risk of bad mental health autistics is that they are experiencing, you know, long delays in getting a diagnosis, right? Which is absolutely true. You know, I mean, if you want to get a diagnosis for various reasons, including maybe, you know, self-validation, external validation, you know, and also accessing state support, and you know, maybe you're confused, and so these delays are going to cause maybe anxiety and difficulties. But the other thing when it comes to diagnosis is something called diagnostic overshadowing. Have you heard of that one? That's
What's that?
Diagnostic overshadowing is something that a lot of autistics, not just autistics, but anyone can really experience, where let's say an autistic person has a diagnosis of autism, and they go to their GP, right, and they say, oh, you know, I've got I'm feeling really depressed, or you know, I've got some physical pain, or whatever it might be, some kind of health related issue, physical or mental health. There's a tendency, there's a risk for GPs especially to just say, oh, that's just autism. Do you know what I mean? That's called diagnostic overshadowing, where your diagnosis of autism is so is so front and center of the clinician's mind that it's blinding them to other potential difficulties. And again, going back to your earlier point about autism and mental health not being the same thing, often a lot of GPs get it confused and think, oh well, you know, the anxiety you're describing is just you're just the fact that you're autistic. Do you know what I mean? When in fact it needs its own attention.
That's right. And I think that's why you have to sort of trust it and get someone else with you to sort of make it clear, actually it's this and not that, because you could be quite kind of cajoled into a path where you're not really wanting to go. But the diagnosis process is so long, that surprises me that they're saying, oh, you must be autistic. How?
No, I mean, after this is when somebody's already got a diagnosis.
I've already got a diagnosis.
And they've gone to the GP and they said, you know, I've got some mental health issue or physical, and they'll say, oh, well, that's just because you're autistic. Do you know what I mean? It can happen the other way around as well. If you've got a diagnosis, let's say, of depression, and you go and you say, I want a diagnosis of autism, they'll say, oh, no, that's not autism, it's your depression. It's not respecting things as they are. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of misdiagnosis, and that just creates a lot of problems, doesn't it?
I also just wanted to make a quick point about even if you're not diagnosed, I think validation is key. I think you have to listen and respect that person if they're saying that I think that I could be, or I've got I tick some boxes. If they're saying that, believe them. At the charity we're a big advocate and proponent of the idea of self-identification. Do you know what I mean? Like self-diagnosis, self-identification is it should be enough. Do you know what I mean? If somebody identifies as autistic and they don't want to go through the pain of a diagnosis, or they just don't want to go through a diagnosis, whatever the reason is, that's fine. We should respect that. Do you know what I mean? You know, somebody will know if in their gut if they're autistic. Do you know what I mean? So self-diagnosis is really, really good. But not all autistics feel comfortable doing that. You know, they get a bit confused. They'll be like, oh, I need the medical validation. You know. And that might be true of, I mean, I'm only theorising here, but I'm guessing that might be true in the Greek community in particular, because the Greeks often, they really respect the medical perspective. And the professional,
do you know what I mean?
Say,
the professional. So they carry a lot of weight among the Greeks. Do you know what I mean? So if they're getting it wrong, the overshadowing, or the delays, that's maybe particularly harmful in our community. Maybe.
That'll be good to hear. if anyone has that experience out there.
We've got a couple of comments on the live stream,
Yes.
both from AJ Higgs. Thank you, AJ. She is saying that with regard to our mention about ADHD, terminology of ADHD, she's saying that she has decided to change the word from disorder to difference.
Yeah.
She thinks it just sounds better. She's come to the conclusion it sounds better. And she's also saying thanks, this is all great advice, and thanks so much. So that's very nice.
Thanks, AJ. That's why I tripped up on it, because when I saw it I thought, because I think using that kind of language is harmful. I think disorder brings a whole load of things, but anyway, thanks, AJ. Thanks.
Well, just with regard to mental health, if you don't mind, Ellie, I've got some statistics here to share with you. So this actually, because I'm an academic, so I write research papers, and I was writing the introduction of a paper recently, and in the introduction I needed to give a little overview of the mental health of autistics. So this is from the sort of hot off the press kind of research findings on autistic mental health. I'm going to give you a little trigger warning because it is a bit grim. It is quite bad. But the reality is that autistics do experience elevated rates of depression, anxiety, and unfortunately suicidality. So there was a big study done by Holox in 2019, and they found that the current and lifetime prevalence for autistic adults in terms of anxiety is 27 to 42%. So meaning if you're an autistic adult, there's a 27 to 42% risk that you will experience meaningful significant anxiety, and 23 to 37% for depression. Now if you compare that to non-autistic neurotypicals, the World Health Organization have got estimates saying that for depression it's 5% risk, and for anxiety it's 4% risk. So that's a massive difference.
Big difference, it is.
Depression for neurotypicals is 5% risk, and for autistics it's anywhere between 23 and 37.
That's high, isn't it?
And that's too high, it's way too high.
We need things changed, don't we?
But if you just flip the statistics around for a moment, it does also sort of show that not all autistics are going to have bad mental health.
No,
do you know what I mean?
not.
23 to 37 is high, but then on the other side there's like 60 whatever percent.
That's still high for that.
It's still very high. Yeah. But I think we wanted to make the point that just because you're autistic, don't think that you're definitely going to have bad mental health.
No.
What else have I got here? Cassidy. So Sarah Cassidy, she's a professor at Nottingham University. I think she's done a lot of well-known work in suicide, and she's found that 66% of autistic adults have reported experiencing suicidal thoughts. 66%. Way too high. I mean, I bet there isn't another demographic that is as high as that. Well, I'm sure there might be some, but there's not much competition. That is very, very, very high. And then lastly, Cassidy again, they did an interesting study where they looked at coroner records of people who had died by suicide in England, and they found that if they went back and traced the case records of the records, they found that at least 10.8% were definitely autistic. So they actually looked at the records of people who passed, but died by suicide, in fact, and found that at least 10%. And so you'd have to imagine that it's quite a bit more than the 10%, because they're only getting what they can definitively find. So it's really worrying.
They're very worrying, and things need to change.
Maim, thank you, Maim. Maim says part of the problem is lack of funding. Absolutely. And early support being really important. Absolutely. Loads of evidence shows that early support makes a big difference, especially when you provide it to the parents and carers to then support their children.
And you find a good network around you.
100%. Thank you for that, Maim, on the live stream. So what about bullying, Ellie? I mean, autistics, the other thing about autistics is that they're unfortunately quite vulnerable to being bullied. in school,
Yes.
at work. Have you ever had? I mean, have you ever had any of these? Have you got any sort of situations where you have come into contact with this? Any stories about this area?
Yeah, so I think the words that we use is really important. Again, I was going back to that sort of, stumbling on the ADHD word. So I was called Baraksini. So for our non-Greek speakers, Baraksinin, I had to look this up, by the way. So Baraksinin is weird. These are pretty grim, these words anyway. Weird, bizarre, odd, strange, outlandish. I mean, they're quite. I mean, to hear that when you're a kid, you kind of think, "Oh, if they're saying it, then I must be." You kind of internalise. I've heard it throughout sporadically. It could be, "Oh, I don't brush my hair." Oh, and Baraksinin. I hate my hair being brushed.
At least you got hair, Ellie.
I've got. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, brushing my hair was like the bone of contention, but that was put down to being Baraksini or not eating certain foods. I wasn't a lover of, quite a few Greek dishes, so that was down to that. So it was obviously sensory.
Yeah, sensory,
and
yeah.
it was a whole load of things that, made me say no to a lot of things. So I think words and language, we have to be really careful, especially Greeks and Greek in the community, speaking about things that, especially to our younger children and young people, because it could be that they take it on board and it's quite damaging.
Yeah, especially in the Greek language is a beautiful language. It's full of colourful words.
Very colourful.
Yeah, and so there's probably more scope for quite damaging.
It is
labelling. Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
Well, how did that make you feel? I mean, when you were a child.
When you're young, you're just like, oh yeah, whatever. I wasn't. I didn't think of it as that. It was just got sort of, but just looking it up, you think, oh god, they are pretty.
That's grim. Yeah, that is harsh.
Yeah, so I think we have to be careful about how we talk. With our young people and children. I
mean, some people might question, is that bullying? But I think it definitely could very well be.
It could be. I mean, if it's
persistent,
if it's persistent and it's said to you quite a bit in different levels and different areas, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's really, really sad, and the thing about it is that oftentimes, I mean, not just Greeks, everybody does this. Everybody that will sort of jump to an assumption rather than trying to understand. Okay, why is it that Ellie's not enjoying these particular foods? Obviously, food is a big thing in our culture, right? So it's like maybe very easily negatively perceived by the people making the food that you don't like. Oh, you're disrespecting my food, or
I made this all day, and
I did all this, and at least you can do is show some respect. But it's not like you don't want to show respect. It's not that. It's just that you can't, tolerate it because of your sensory issues.
Yeah.
So
did you have anything, Chris?
I've always been sort of sensory with my hearing.
Okay.
So I when I used to go out when I was younger to a nightclub or whatever, I used to really struggle in those environments. With the loud, very
music.
very loud music. Yeah, or even things like shopping. When I'd go shopping, very loud echoes. And I've always found supermarkets quite overwhelming in a way, because it's not just the loud and echoey environment, but it's also very bright.
Yes.
So the lights
What is that? That's
just blinding. It's like a movie set.
They should come with their health warning, shouldn't they?
Yeah. My goodness.
It's everything. It's the smells, it's the noise, it's the trolleys clanking, it's people talking.
Unpredictably. It's about overwhelming.
And why do they keep changing aisles? You go to a particular aisle, you want to go and get something, and they've changed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
How stressful is that?
Very, very stressful. And, for an autistic person being seriously, something like that can just take all of their spoons away.
For sure.
You know, all of their energy, all their mental energy and resilience for the day is gone. And those things that then you were talking about earlier in terms of, you know, if you're struggling with your mental health, do this, go do that. They can't do it.
No.
So it's really, really important that, you know, supermarkets and businesses are really thinking about their workspace environment and making it as accessible.
Chris, you mentioned spoons. What is that, very quickly?
Oh, spoon theory is the idea that, you know, I think this applies to all of us, but the idea is that, you know, an autistic person will wake up in the morning with a certain amount of spoons, right? In mental, it's an analogy for mental energy, right? Let's say, for example, you've got 10 spoons that you've woken up with, and then during the day something stressful happens, and maybe you lose one spoon, right? And neurotypical people often will just only lose one spoon, so they might be able to cope with 10 stressful events. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with an autistic person, something like that, you know, perhaps something that they're looking for in a supermarket has been moved to a different place, or it's not available, or, you know, you could lose all your spoons in one go, or the majority of them. So it's essentially an analogy for how much energy, how much resilience in a way that you've got. I always think of it like a mobile phone battery. You know, like your phone. You know, a typical phone will go through the battery in a very linear fashion, right? Like from 100% down to 99, 98. You'll see it kind of go down one by one. Whereas if it was an autistic phone battery, you might see it go from 100 to 60 in one shot. So that's what it is. I had a couple more comments. But in terms of bullying, Mame says masking of neurodivergent children and young people to fit into societal pressures. That's
absolutely.
that is a bit. I mean, that is what happens when somebody gets bullied. They'll trying to fit in, try to mask, and then the masking hurts their mental health even more. Thank you for that comment. Got another comment here. I find it's different smells and people talking loudly on transport. Transport's another public transport. So at the end of the day, we live in a world built for neurotypical people, and so it's often not avoidable. But when it happens, what I think the autistic community needs is understanding and, you know,
it's just a bit of kindness as well, isn't it?
From others.
If you can see someone struggling, there's no kind of, you can just, what can I do to help? But at that moment, they might not know. But just sitting with that person, being in that moment with that person, so they're not alone. You know, is helpful. Absolutely. It's more helpful than being called weird. Right? Yes.
That's not going to help anyone.
I hated macarona di forno, by the way.
Oh, really?
Lots of love to everything else, but not that.
What was it about?
Oh my God! So why would you have? I couldn't bear the multi-layers. So you've got cream, you've got
by the
pasta.
Way, do you want to explain what macarona di forno is?
Oh, sorry. So
non-Greeks.
So it's like a Greek version of lasagna. So you've got cream at the top, and it's all bubbly and cheesy, and then you've got pasta, and then you've got meat. Oh mate, no, that's too many layers for me.
Tony in the background salivating right now. Sorry.
Not for me.
I do like it.
Do you? A minority. Anyway, no to that.
But I can see what you're saying though. It's an overwhelming
and I mean it takes ages to make, so obviously that's why they're called barracks, isn't it? So.
No, but that's not fair to you. I mean, you don't mean any disrespect. It is what it is. Okay, well, should we take a short break? Just a reminder that you know, you can catch us on the live stream. The live stream is going to be continuing during this radio break, so please feel free to continue to comment and put some questions in the live stream, which again you can find by going to facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity, or if you've got a phone with the Facebook app, just search for London Autism Group Charity. You'll find the live stream and we are there. So thank you very much. Don't go away.
Don't miss out a single tune. You can download the free app on your phone or iPad. Go to the App Store and search for London Greek Radio. Tune in and keep it LGR.
So
thanks, Tony.
You know, the masking is something that, you know, girls do in particular. I'm not saying this particularly exclusive to them, but it's not easily diagnosed, and to fit in,
Yeah, all the fitting in. Well, that's what it comes down to, isn't it? Like you said, like the judgments, the attitudes, that just causes people feeling the need to fit in, and then that causes people just got to be themselves, isn't it? Yeah, but they're not supported to be themselves.
No.
All right, so
Any
thank
more
you to everyone that's been commenting on the live stream. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you want to listen to it on the radio, you just go to 103.3. Yeah, 103. Yeah, FM. It's 103.3 FM. It's London Greek Radio. It's an amazing radio station, and yeah, we're here every first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Yeah, so yeah. If you tune into the radio station, you'll hear some lovely Greek music right now, probably. So, what we're talking about next?
So you are going to explain the work you do on a charity.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And how you support and help. And
oh yeah. And we'll have a quick chat about the disadvantages in generic mental health services. Yeah. Oh, and then if we have time, what stops autistic people? But then you said a lot of that.
We've said
quite a bit, but you can pick it up a bit if you need.
Yeah.
Although we've only got like another 20 after this break. Only be like another 20 minutes, so probably won't have time for that bit. Good. Hope the audio's coming through. I've got it obviously muted.
Oh no, nobody said that they can't hear though.
No. Yeah. I had the opposite problem with the macaroni before. Now I loved it a lot, but because I don't eat meat, I'm like the fussy one because they have to make a vegetarian version.
Oh no!
So my mum would have to make the vegetarian version and a meat version.
So, how long have you been a veggie for then?
Since I was like 19, 20.
Oh.
Yeah, quite a while.
Is it?
Yeah. Now, if I accidentally eat meat, because I've accidentally eaten it a few times. Now my stomach I can't tolerate it. I'll get nauseous. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Now I'll know straight away. It's a really sharp sensory thing, isn't it? Like if you've had meat, you just know it by accident.
No.
So yeah.
And what else was
But that's
there?
a fuss for the Greeks. Do you know what I mean? Because they're very meat oriented. Yeah.
Oh.
That's not a sensory thing. That's just me being difficult.
Oh my gosh! The other one was what was the other one?
Tony, you were salivating, by the way, man.
You're lucky then, Tony. Oh,
is that your favourite dish?
One of them, yeah. One of many. My mum used to be brilliant at cooking also.
Yeah,
Cypriot cuisine.
Yeah. Aren't they?
Seen the out massive.
Massive.
Yeah.
A few seconds left.
Oh.
Okay.
I think you're...
Okay, yeah.
Στο σπίτι, στη δουλειά, στο αυτοκίνητο. This is LGR, London Greek Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we continue, just a reminder to those listening to us that you can also watch us on live stream and send in any comments and questions thereby going to facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity. Hope you're enjoying the show, and please send any comments or feedback. We'd love to hear from you. So, Chris, how does the London Autism Group Charity support autistic mental health?
Yeah, so we've got 2 or 3 kind of approaches to it. The first one is definitely our community cafes, which we talked about before.
We have.
Yeah, I mean the community cafes are kind of very safe spaces for autistics to get together, feel safe, feel connected, and be listened to by people that really get it. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to get those judgments of being weird and that sort of thing. It's just going to be people who you know are the same tribe. You know, and so they feel safe.
Yes.
And so that, in a way, really is a tool for making autistics support each other's mental health. Do you know what I mean? Because just being together can be really, really good for their mental health. It's empowering. Yeah, they feel listened to and valued, and that's often what a lot of people just need. You know, they take their mask off, you know, so to speak, so they can be themselves. And we have activities now, music therapy, and we do like Tai Chi and things like that now. So
and they're run by autistic adults themselves.
The activities are all autistic led, so that's really nice. So what we do is we have these spaces partly to have an opportunity for autistic mental health to be supported.
Yeah.
But then often we find some people need more sort of intensive one-to-one support. And for these kinds of people, which we might identify in the community cafes, that's our sort of model, we will then commission. So we have 5 or 6 autistic mental health professionals. They're trained, fully fledged, fully registered mental health professionals. You know, they're on the BACP registry and that sort of thing. And
just say what BACP
that's the BACP is the
British Association of Counselling Psychotherapy.
There you go.
I was testing you.
You saved me there. I was going to say something completely different. No, that's quite right. And so on that registry, I think it's the people who
it's really important. They're governed. Their work is governed.
That's right. Yeah. So, but what we've done is we found 5 or 6 of these people that are on these registries, but they happen to be autistic. This is the crucial thing.
Great. Yeah.
And so, if there's an autistic person that does need a more intensive, support, what we'll do is we will enable them to access this autistic mental health therapist very, very quickly, and we'll also...
That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll cut the queues, go straight to them, and then we'll also, if they need financial assistance, we will provide that and pay for the sessions.
That's amazing.
So we'll often pay for like a block of 10 sessions for autistic people to be having therapy with autistic mental health therapists. And then if they need more after that, we can try to support a few more, or maybe they'll transition to paying it themselves privately. Okay. But by then, the idea is they would have already formed a strong connection with that. So, so we really believe in the value of autistic mental health professionals rather than generic. In fact, we've found that through talking to our community directly, that actually... autistic people really often suffer from getting therapy from people that don't understand autism. The generic mental health.
I think that's really important. Having trained people and who are neurodivergent themselves is just a whole different level, isn't it, of understanding. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, you won't get that diagnostic overshadowing that I was talking about before, which you can get that overshadowing with generic. And there's just that. It's hard to explain, but it's that kind of just natural connection and chemistry the alchemy exactly that is just forms between an autistic client and an autistic mental health. It's more likely to form, obviously it's not a guarantee, but oftentimes if you're somebody looking for therapy, generally just speaking here, if you're somebody looking for private therapy, often you have to go through 3, 4, 5 therapists in order before you find someone that gets you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And in this instance, we just make that process much quicker. So
I think what's really important is to normalise therapy, especially in the Greek community. I think that's something that needs to be highlighted. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And it's so beneficial. And there's no shame in saying you're going to go to therapy. It's almost like, I'm going to go and have a coffee. So, going to see someone is not a weakness, it's a strength, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're open about it, if you feel you can be open about it and be honest. I always sort of think of it as like, if in the Greek community, I suppose, I mean, it's stigmatized. Going to therapy is stigmatized in many communities.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
But I know for sure, being a Greek in the Greek community, that it is definitely stigmatized in our community. Not always. I don't want to generalize, but there's a risk of stigma. But I always think, look, in our community, if you were to say, I'm going to see a physical therapist, right,
for an
some
ailment,
support, exactly, for an ailment, maybe you need a masseuse, or some physiotherapy, or whatever it might be, something physical, you're never going to get any stigma
no.
for that, right?
No.
For physical therapy,
Yeah.
never going to get
No.
this. But as soon as you say I'm going to go and get some mental health therapy,
Yeah.
but you know, that's
Yeah.
like viewed as,
That's-
oh my god, what is wrong with
yeah,
you? But
yeah.
actually, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
that kind of therapy that you'd get for your physical body, but applied for your mental health.
Yeah.
And of course, if you've got better mental health, you've got better
Yeah,
physical health.
absolutely. Yeah, of course, they go hand in hand. And this is one of the reasons why I always keep talking about these community cafes, because this is where you go and you talk and you will not be judged, and you know, we're open, I think we're quite thoughtful, aren't we? Kind.
Yeah, I'd like
We're
to
a quite
say,
friendly
yeah.
bunch.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's one happening on Sunday at Southgate from 1 to 3.
That's right.
This Sunday.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We'll be there. So that's where, you know, the magic happens, as it were.
Yeah. So, Ellie, let me ask you, why do you think, you know, going to therapy is so stigmatised in the Greek community? I mean, you know, not just for autistics, just in general. Like, why do you think it's so?
So I am a therapist and a counsellor, non-practicing at the moment, but it was always the Greek clients who used to be really secretive. Like, they used to make excuses like, oh, they're taking the young person because I'm a child and adolescent, so they always used to lie or say they were taking their child somewhere where, I don't know, like a tennis lesson or something. And I always wondered why, because, as you said, it's something that is stigmatised, and I think it goes back to the family where, oh my goodness, what's wrong? Why can't they sort this out? And keeping it in the family instead of talking to people and trying to get help, in as far as you're not alone with this problem. You can seek help and there's no shame to it. And I always tried hard to stigmatise it, and I think this is what we're trying to do on air here, which LGR have kindly given us the space to do so. I think it's really important just to have these conversations, be open about it. There is nothing wrong and there is no shame in seeking help where your mental health needs like a refresh. I mean, you go to the hygienist and get your teeth brushed up. Why can't you sort of go and have a check, of kind of refresh, as it were? You know, perhaps because I've been working in it, I feel that it's not a big deal, but I really hope that we can get that message across, that, you know, talking about it and making it less, having these uncomfortable conversations means if it's helping someone or helping someone out there, we've done our work.
Yeah. Well, 100% echo everything you've said there, Ellie. Thanks so much for that. I mean, we found that parents and carers of autistic children or young people who themselves may be neurodivergent and autistic and not know it, or maybe they're not all not all parents are necessarily going to be neurodivergent and autistic. Regardless, we find that parents really benefit from seeing a therapist if they are feeling overwhelmed or confused or anxious themselves, and
isolated.
So isolated. So your messages about it not being, you know, a shameful thing and being really important is something that I hope all people in the autistic community here, but including parents and carers, I actually think they're maybe the most vulnerable in a way to not accessing it.
Yeah, sure.
Because they want to shoulder a lot of...
you're kind of last in the queue. I must say that you kind of make sure everyone else is catered for and everyone else's needs are being met, and you kind of neglect it a little bit. But as the old saying is, you have to put your own oxygen mask to help others, you know. But I completely concur with what you're saying about having the help. But then again, where do you go for help?
Yeah, that's a whole other bag, isn't it? Yeah.
It's, you know, it's under-resourced. It's kind of trying to get the help and you're waiting for a long list. But these cafes bridge that sort of gap.
Yeah, and if you are somebody listening to us right now in the autistic community, maybe you're a parent yourself, or an autistic person or an autistic parent, whatever it might be, and you're wondering the same question, how am I going to get support? Reach out to our charity, contact at londonautismgroupcharity.org. And as I said, we'll see if we can get you to see one of our therapists. A couple of them are parents themselves, so that's always good. But I think what you said, Ellie, is really, really important, that parents and carers often put themselves last. Now just think about the word carer, right? The word carer, if you're a carer, straight away your identity is someone who cares for someone else, not themselves.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't even come into it.
No.
But actually, you're not going to be as good at caring if you don't look after your own.
But it goes back to when you say finding your tribe, where there are people that can just look at you and say, do you know what, I'll just make you a cup of tea, or here's a dish that I made, or just that sort of caring approach where you don't even need to say anything and someone will just lift a little bit of that burden for you. Kind of that network, that supportive network is so important.
100%. Yeah, we get lots of parents, right, that come to our community cafes.
Absolutely, there's lots of parents.
Definitely come and unburden. I mean, I think a lot of parents also, with regard to their mental health, they may sometimes, this is something I see a little bit, they sometimes feel a bit anxious accessing community cafes because they feel, especially if they're new to it, they feel that they might embarrass themselves, in a way that they don't know, the right terms and the right language, or they're not, and that's not what we want. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely not. That's not what we're about either. No. It's what I benefited from, and my family, was speaking to autistic people. I think that was so key, front and centre.
Yeah. Makes all the difference.
Makes such a difference, and we have some lively, interesting points of discussion, and you come away and you think, goodness, I hadn't even thought of that. It just is so uplifting and enlightening that that autistic voice is everything. That's
why as I said earlier, we often hear that autistic people, or parents, or whoever it is in our community, really get sort of bad outcomes when they go and see generic mental health. I mean, you wait, or you could wait, get a referral from the GP to a generic talking service, wait 6 months or whatever it might be, and then finally you're there, and this person doesn't know what they're talking about with regards to autism and neurodiversity.
I think things are slightly changing. I can see there are a few more trainings, really important, done by autistic people, co-produced by autistic people, which is again key. And one would hope that the professionals are absolutely listening to the autistic voice or the neurodivergent, because that's the only way things are going to change.
100%. There are some decent new sort of national strategies and frameworks that emphasise, certain things like language, or utilise autistic voice in the training and things like that. Obviously, we've got the new NHS mandatory Oliver McGowan training that is coming in. Maybe we'll talk about that more in depth in another episode. But I would agree things are changing, but still obviously not ideal, and it's always a lottery, isn't it, as to whether or not. So lots and lots of issues and challenges, as highlighted by the sad statistics that I mentioned before, but lots of reasons to be positive, and lots of options for support through our community cafe, through our one-to-one. I didn't talk about our befriending service. We do advocacy as well. Isn't there? So we do a good amount. So if you do feel that you need the support, just contact us. Just do a Google search for our charity name. All right. So thank you to everybody that has commented or asked questions in the stream. Ellie, is there anything else that we should highlight before we sign out?
Just again, perhaps highlight the event
Yeah, I'll
happening
do
on the
that.
14th.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, thank you, Ellie. As I mentioned earlier, this month, on Saturday the 14th of September, at 3 p.m. to 7 p.m, our charity is going to be hosting the first ever in-person speaking event. Or I should say our first ever, not the first ever. It's our charity's first ever in-person event. And there's going to be 3 of us. So as I was talking about earlier, that we commission these 5 or 6 different autistic mental health professionals, but 3 of the people that we commission are going to be speaking about their approach, how they work, you know, getting into the details and their beliefs about the issues.
And they're autistic themselves.
They're autistic themselves, So
again, it's listening to the autistic voice and the experience, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I don't think there's you know, an in-person opportunity like this actually available anywhere else. So come down. It's a lovely environment, actually, the Holy Sepulchre Church in the City of London by Holborn Viaduct. And as I said, tickets are limited, but you can get them at tinyurl.com/LAGC speaking event. That's tinyurl.com/LAGC speaking event. I'll be hosting it. Ellie, you going to be able to come down?
I'm hoping to get there,
So you'll meet Ellie and I, and see if Sophia comes as well. But all of the friendly charity faces will be there. So if you are interested in learning more about autistic mental health, definitely get yourself a ticket. I'd also like to remind you to pop into one of our charity community cafes that we have, so you can find support and connect with others, help your mental health, as we've been discussing. Currently we have community cafes in Southgate, Islington, Ealing, Woodford and Grays. We are working to open a couple more, one in South London. I'll give more details when we get them. In the South, but those are the ones we have currently. So there's always a community cafe happening every weekend, one or the other. That brings us to the end of today's show. Our next show will take place on the 3rd of October at 7 p.m, which as always is the first Thursday of the month. And as always, we'll be live streaming the show on our charity Facebook page, so do feel free to stop by and ask some questions. And lastly, a reminder that on the 23rd of September at 8 p.m, we will be guest starring. I don't know what the appropriate guest appearing.
Or just turf up.
Just turf up. Just gate crashing. Maybe is the better word. Elizabeth Chapman and Tony J's wonderful show, Chai Ganella Jeguvenda. So definitely tune in for that as well. That's 103.3 FM, obviously. And that is it. Thank you for your time and lovely insights today, Ellie, as always.
Thank you.
And have a lovely month, everybody, and stay tuned for non-stop hits.
Bye.
Don't miss out a single tune. You can download the free app on your phone or iPad. Go to the App Store and search for London Greek Radio. Tune in and keep it LGR.
This